Hey everybody, welcome back to Race of History. There is a couple of changes that are coming to the channel. I just ordered a new camera, microphone, so the setup will probably change. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to look yet. I'm going to go through a process of figuring all that out, but things will look different coming up pretty soon. I may have a different background and all that. So that's coming. Also, I have a Sabaton history for a lifetime of war that's going to come out soon. I have the next Hannibal video, the next Caesar video. I'm trying to work quickly to get through everything. But today we're going to get into Hunting the Bismarck by Extra History Part 3. And we'll start from here and go forward. Like I said, a bunch of other content for me to get to. So if you're waiting for one of those videos, I'm trying very quickly to get them out. Bear with me for a little bit. But we're going to start here. Extra Histories, A Chance to Strike.
With the Hood sunk and the Prince of Wales damaged, nothing stands between the Bismarck and the Atlantic. But this is only the beginning of the Royal Navy's misfortunes. This episode is sponsored by Wargaming. Download World of Warships and use the code EXTRA1 for free goodies. Link in the description. The 24th of May, 1440 hours. Admiral Tovey's flagship, King George V. The Battle of the Denmark Strait has not only been a disaster for British morale, but it's presented a tactical problem. Bismarck and Prinz Eugen are loose in the Atlantic. Worse, the only ships close enough to engage the Germans are no match for those battleships. Instead of intercepting Bismarck, Admiral Tovey's home fleet is now chasing her south. But thanks to the cruisers and their radar, they at least know where the Bismarck is, and reconnaissance planes have reported a large oil slick following the vessel. It seems that one of the Prince of Wales's shells wounded the beast, but it hasn't slowed her. If Tovey hopes to catch up to Bismarck, he has to cause her further damage. He orders his aircraft carrier Victorious to steam ahead of him. She's a faster ship, and with luck she can get her Swordfish torpedo bombers within range of the enemy before dark. 1839 hours. The Prince of Wales and a squadron of cruisers have been shadowing Bismarck and Prinz Eugen with their forward radar when one of the cruiser's lookouts spots something in the haze. Suddenly, Bismarck cuts through the fog bank and opens up with her guns. The cruiser quickly turns and flees into the fog. A mile behind it, the Prince of Wales fires a salvo. Battle seems imminent, but the Bismarck breaks off and continues north. When the cruiser reacquires Bismarck, its captain notices that there's only one ship on radar now, not two. The attack was a bluff, a ploy to break radar contact so Prinz Eugen could detach and slip away.
Yes, so pretty smart, right? You have these ships that, although they are not nearly the types of ships that you would need in order to actually put a dent in the Bismarck, you're able to follow them with their new radar systems, right? So they're hanging behind, they're following by radar. The Bismarck, noticing that they, are being followed, decides to quickly turn about face and shoot a salvo off, and that allows them to break contact with at least one of the ships. So a pretty smart move there, I feel like, by the Germans. And if they didn't have the oil coming out of the ship, the radar would be the only thing they could track it by. And when you think about it, that's kind of a tough go too. If you lose radar contact and you only have the traces of oil to pick up, that's going to be a tough go. Even if there's a lot of it. You know what I mean? It's going to be hard to track it down in the vast of the ocean. Even if there's a trail, you just won't catch it.
They've lost one prize. 2,300 hours on the aircraft carrier Victorious. 9 Swordfish torpedo bombers lift off the pitching deck. They are not fit for this mission. The pilots are inexperienced, the aircraft are biplanes with bodies made of metal struts and stretched fabric. They carry only 1 torpedo each, and their top speed is only 138 miles per hour. But they are the only solution available. The squadron reaches the target area and sees a ship below. Then these rookie pilots begin an attack run that could change history. They dive low, 100 feet above the waves, and line up to create a bank of torpedoes that will be hard to thread. But the ship's anti-aircraft batteries aren't opening fire, and this ship seems a little small to be Bismarck. Flak lashes past the squadron. It's coming from a different ship, 10 miles distant. That's Bismarck. The swordfish pull out of their attack run and climb into the clouds, glimpsing the U.S. Coast Guard ensigns flying from the ship they'd nearly just sunk. U.S.-UK relations are saved, but they've lost the element of surprise.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if the British torpedo bombers, with as bad as this situation is with the Bismarck, and these are rookie pilots and old planes, and it's the situation is not good all around. Can you imagine if they sunk a U.S. Coast Guard vessel? Oh my goodness. I can only imagine the freak out that the U.S. would have had at that. Oh my gosh, that would have been so terrible.
The squadron drives towards the Bismarck in a storm of anti-aircraft fire. Tracer rounds zip past. The great 15-inch guns fire into the sea, creating walls of water 100 feet high. Flak rips the bottom out of one plane, while another swordfish hits a pillar of spray and nearly stalls. But all the things that make swordfish obsolete also make them a perfect weapon in this case. Modern anti-aircraft batteries are designed to target faster planes, and the swordfish's low speed makes them easy to maneuver. Their cloth skins and frames are so fragile that shells smash right through without...
That is the huge advantage here. Yes, it's an advantage to have the plane go slowly. That's an advantage in a whole slew of different military scenarios where you would want a slower plane. The U.S. still makes planes to this day that are combat planes that are able to go very slowly in certain situations. That what the plane is made out of, the fabric being able to tear on impact instead of just shattering the plane. That is the big thing here that allows the planes to stay in the air.
Without detonating. The swordfish loose their torpedoes. The Bismarck slowly swerves, trying to thread the gap between the tin fish. It succeeds twice, but as the swordfish buzz away, they see a bright flash and a gush of water amidships. Right on the thick armor belt. Likely no damage. 25th of May, 01:15 hours. Under orders to engage, the Prince of Wales fires on Bismarck at extreme range, but the weather cuts visibility to nothing. The cruiser squadron resumes shadowing the Bismarck by radar, zigzagging to throw off the U-boats that Admiralty warns are in the area. During these evasive maneuvers, they lose and reacquire Bismarck every 20 minutes. At 03:06 hours, the lead cruiser has the Bismarck on radar and then turns away. When they turn back at 03:30 hours, the Bismarck is gone. They search, but in vain. After shadowing her for 32 hours and 1,000 miles, they've lost their quarry. 0600 hours on the King.
So think about what has just happened. Obviously, there's this massive manhunt on the British side. We talked about it last video, but now that the hood has been sunk by the Bismarck, there is... I'm not sure how to explain it. This has become a revenge mission, right? They want to sink the Bismarck. This is no longer just about protecting convoys or not letting the Bismarck sink through. It's a revenge mission. They want it sunk, right? And so the big thing you have going for you, if you're the British, because you don't have big ships in the area, you're trying to get the fleet together and out and converge quickly enough to make all this happen. But you have them on radar, so you're able to follow and then broadcast where the Bismarck is to the rest of the British Navy, and now you lose him. Now you lose the Bismarck, and you are in a terrible situation if you're the British Navy.
King George V, 3 hours since last contact. When Tovey learns that the cruisers have lost Bismarck, he goes to his charts. The oil slick reported behind Bismarck suggests that the ship is damaged, in which case, he reasons, it would try to return to port either in Norway or occupied France. But if Bismarck isn't badly damaged, it could link up with an oil tanker, refuel, and play havoc with supply convoys. This scares Tovey. His ships are already low on fuel, and if the search continues too long, they're gonna have to return home. If Bismarck finds a tanker, she could simply wait them out. He orders several of his cruisers, battleships, and the Victorious to refuel in Iceland. It'll mean he's short-handed in the meantime, but he'll have the option for a long-term search. If it comes down to it, he has the battleship Rodney in intercept position, just in case Bismarck heads for the French coast. 0930 hours at Bletchley Park. 6.5 hours have passed since last contact. Every day is a race for the code breakers at Bletchley Park. The settings for German Enigma code machines change every day, and every day Bletchley's bomb, a huge computer, runs through different settings until the intercepted messages turn into readable German. Once that happens, it's a scramble to decode as many intercepts as possible before the codes change again. Hut 4, the computer that deals with German naval signals, is trying to sort through a mountain of intercepts to find where Bismarck is headed. But the Bismarck isn't the only German vessel in the Atlantic, and because the naval version of the Enigma has 5 rotors instead of 4, actual decryptions will take a week to come through. In the absence of translations, the analysts try to identify Bismarck's signals by the electronic fingerprint of its transmitter and the typing style of the ship's Morse operator. If they find a signal that matches, they triangulate its position.
Wow, what a... Like, how crazy is that? The style of the communications officer is being matched to determine which one is the Bismarck. Like, that is so crazy. That is literally like a crime scene investigator. That is... wow.
The evidence is mixed. One triangulated signal seems headed for France, but other possible hits indicate Norway. But one analyst notices that the broadcasts being sent to the Bismarck have changed origin points. Until noon the previous day, signals to the Bismarck originated at a station in Germany, but now they're coming from Paris. This suggests that Bismarck has traveled out of the German station's range and is headed for France. They decide to trust the French signal. They broadcast the raw data to Tovey, whose destroyers can triangulate the signals with their own equipment. 10:47 hours on the King George V. 7.5 hours since last contact. Tovey reviews the raw data indicating France, but in triangulating it, he makes a mathematical error. According to his map, the Bismarck is headed north toward Norway. He orders all ships to search north of the Bismarck's last known position. 1200 hours at the Admiralty, 9 hours since last contact. 200 feet below the Admiralty building in London, analysts are hotly debating the Bismarck's position. They are under pressure to deliver. Churchill is livid that the Bismarck has escaped. He's already requested that Captain Leach be court-martialed for breaking off his attack after the sinking of Hood. The public, the media, and Parliament are pressing him for updates, but the best the analysts can do is make an educated guess. Over the morning, they send signals that they believe Bismarck is headed for France, but they order destroyers and cruisers to guard the passages around Iceland just in case. They try to cover their bases, stripping supply and troop convoys to dangerous levels. 1700 hours at Bletchley Park. By now, 14 hours have passed since last contact.
Okay, so 14 hours since they have been able to spot the ship either by sight or by radar. They have no idea where it's going. And you can imagine why there is so much, why there is so much anxiety and frustration on the British side, because of how this isn't just a battle of ships, right? Like, we talked about this whenever the Hood was sunk, but whenever you have the sinking of the Hood, and specifically the sinking of the Hood by the Bismarck, it becomes this political, almost like a political play or scene, right? Where it's how it looks and how this looks to the British people, to outside observers. It looks like the Germans have gone into the arena that is really the British arena with naval power. They have gone into that arena. They have sunk the prized possession of the British Navy, and now can't be found, is somewhere in the Atlantic doing God knows what and preparing to do God knows what. But the whole thing looks really bad for the British, and it looks bad because it's in the realm of the Navy, right? Like, Britain losing a land battle or something of that sort, like, that's more Germany's, arena. That's more what Germany does. But what Britain does is the Navy. And so for Germany to go basically onto Britain's home field and beat them at their own game is extremely frustrating for all of the British involved. And they want something to be done. They want a move to be made.
At Hut 6, a team of German-speaking women type intercepted messages into Enigma replicas and prioritize the decrypted results. They've been briefed to look for anything related to the Bismarck. One decoder sees the word Bresse and freezes. It's a message sent from a Luftwaffe Enigma machine. The sender is a general asking whether his son, a sailor on Bismarck, has survived the battle with Hood. The reply is that all aboard Bismarck are safe and headed for Bresse, France. She shoots a hand up. I have something interesting. 1810 hours at the Admiralty. 15 hours since last contact.
It's so crazy how history turns on the smallest things.
Signals go out to Admiral Tovey's flagship, the King George V. Determination-hardened Bismarck headed for Bresse. Tovey has been sailing in the wrong direction for hours. The Admiralty orders land-based reconnaissance flights on all approaches to Bresse. Nobody at sea or on land will sleep tonight. The 26th of May, 10:35 hours, at PBY Catalina Patrol. 31 hours since last contact.
Jesus.
Catalina flying boats, obtained from America via Lend-Lease, have been scouring the ocean since dawn. But in closely guarded secret, the pilot of one particular aircraft is also American, one of several U.S. Navy officers sent to train the British.
Yeah, that was... If you dig into the time leading up to the U.S. entrance into the war, it's essentially a big political story on how FDR is maneuvering the levers of power to try to help the Allies in every way that he can when nobody around him wants to be involved in the war in any way, shape, or form. And so he's fighting an uphill battle, obviously, because nobody wants to get involved. So he's kind of doing everything in a roundabout way to try to make it happen. So Lend-Lease, you're not technically giving military arms or ships or anything like that. It's technically a leasing program. There aren't U.S. pilots over fighting, with the British Air Force or Air Service. It's training, right? Like, that's the story of everything U.S. involved until they actually get into the war is a roundabout way of going about it. So that's the way that it's done. And also, there's a huge time crunch here because not only have the British been sailing in the wrong direction, but the Bismarck will have air cover from the ground in France once it gets, close enough to the shoreline. So it doesn't need to get all the way to port. It just needs to get close enough that then the Luftwaffe could come and protect it, basically, and then the British can't get to it. So this is a huge race against time here, not just to get it before it gets to France, but to get it before the Luftwaffe can protect it.
Through a break in the clouds, the Catalina pilot sees an unidentified battleship 700 miles west-northwest of Bresse. It's leaking oil. The ship's anti-aircraft guns erupt in a mountain of fire, shaking the Catalina. As the pilot banks and climbs, the British co-pilot runs aft to transmit their discovery. Every ship on patrol drives straight for the Bismarck, but fuel is critical. If they make full speed, they may run out of petrol and have to break off, but if they slow, they might lose her. And catching her is crucial. By the next day, Bismarck will be safely in range of Luftwaffe air cover. The Royal Navy can't simultaneously battle Bismarck and fight off waves of bombers. The only ship close enough to strike a blow is the aircraft carrier Ark Royal.
No, if it gets in range of the Luftwaffe, this chase is over. It's over. The British Navy will not risk going after the Bismarck whenever the Luftwaffe is there. And so if they don't get to it before it gets into range of the German Luftwaffe, then they don't get it.
She speeds ahead to strike range. 1,500 hours. 15 swordfish launch from the Ark Royal. The situation is dire. There's only time for 2 sorties before dark. New magnetic torpedoes sit beneath their planes' bellies. The crews have been briefed that Bismarck is the only ship in the sector. An hour later, they begin their attack run. 1610 hours. Under orders from Force H, the British cruiser Sheffield has rushed ahead to shadow Bismarck by radar. They've just acquired her when the lookouts hear aircraft engines. The swordfish flight bears down on them in an attack run. The HMS Sheffield's captain orders full speed and turns toward the planes, hoping to thread the torpedoes. 4 of the swordfish realize their mistake and break off, but 11 release their payload. By a stroke of pure luck, the new torpedoes are faulty. 6 detonate on contact with the water, leaving the Sheffield only 5 to weave through. And she makes it, but barely. Returning to...
They fired on their own damn ship. Like, geez. And also, maybe something boring to you guys, but something that's kind of interesting to me is the issues with the new technologically advanced torpedoes in this war are very interesting to me. Just like how the mines were new technology at the time of World War I, the torpedoes are constantly being updated, and they run into a whole slew of issues with a bunch of different ones. The U.S. Navy has a blow up in their ranks in World War II over the use of faulty torpedoes.
To the Ark Royal, the demoralized pilots refuel and rearm for another run. They had 2 chances to damage Bismarck, and they just lost one of them by attacking their own ship. Join us next time for one last attempt to stop the largest warship on Earth.
Okay, so that was part 3 of Extra Histories Hunting the Bismarck. Like I said, I will be working to get all of the videos and series we have going right now out as quickly as I can. They're the new Sabaton history for the A Lifetime of War, Caesar, Hannibal, all of that. I'm working on all of it, and so bear with me a little bit. But that was Extra Histories, a chance to strike. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Help me keep building the channel over here, and I will see you all next time.